Hi everyone, and welcome to my review of Singin' in the Rain, directed by Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly in 1952. So here we are with this film, Singin' in the Rain, the musical that is mostly, the highest regarded really of all time. Here it is on Blu-ray, and yes, a rewatch tonight. Hadn't seen it for roughly 2 years, so it's been a while for me, certainly, and yes. This film, I've seen it multiple times, of course, now, and it is, so popular, of course, critically, and IMDb, 8.3, Letterboxd, 4.3. So yes, just a loved film. If you see polls, and stuff, Sight and Sound or AFI, this is really, really high on most of these. It's regarded as one of the 50 best films mostly of all time, and yes, I'd seen this, of course, throughout my life, as a kid and stuff, and of course, if you're wondering if this is one of the films that, of course I have been, over these last few weeks and for another week and a half or so, we'll be reviewing, a lot of my, favourite films, of all time, whether it's top 100, top 250 or top 50, they will be, of course, reviewed / re-reviewed. Yes, if you're wondering, is this the film on there? Absolutely, that's an understatement. Wow, in this film, yeah. Spoilers review, of course, and yes, I rewatched this tonight. Hadn't watched this for roughly 2 years. So yeah, I can't believe I went that long without watching this film again. Wow, but yes, here we are tonight. Popped it in, and yes, just of course on Blu-ray, a vivid, wonderful, magical experience. This film is. Of course, it's a spoilers review here. So if you haven't seen it, this should be on your watch list. I would certainly advise watching this film. It really is something. And yes, then of course come back, or just be warned. As always, there is spoilers on the review. And yes, this film, Singin' in the Rain. Where to begin? Really, wow. This film is just one of the absolute finest films ever made, in my opinion. I'm just really, really obsessed with this, and it's one of these things, one of these films that just, really is Hollywood, classic Hollywood. This is what it represents, and the joys, the wonder, the magic, the purely just uplifting, magical experiences, that you can get with, films. Wow, it's a musical film, of course, and aside from if you're talking about non-animated films, this is a contender for my favourite musical of all time. It really is head and shoulders above so many musicals. It's right at the top, really, for me, and just an absolute joy to watch. It's just one of the most magical, escapist films. But wow, it's a genius piece of film here. It's what it says and how it's kind of exploring, of course, the transition from silent cinema to sound. A big event here. A big, and of course, as we know, cinema is a very young art form. And this transition was very, if you considering so many different art forms, it's very quick, very early on in the stages of cinema. This transition, and yes, of course, you've got this wonderful commentary on this exploration. It's a film about filmmaking, this, and also just struggling artists, and it does it in such a way that it's just so inspirational, so perfect. Wow, this film, I am obsessed with this film, and it's not only just a pure joy, in terms of the music, the dance scenes, of course, choreographed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen as well. Wow, of course, Lockwood being our main character here, played by Gene Kelly, and yes, he does everything here. He is a complete star in this film, and of course, Donald O'Connor as Cosmo in the film, who's the friend, of course, from a very young age of our main protagonist of Don, and you've got Debbie Reynolds, wow, as Kathy, the wonderful, beautiful, brilliant, sublime Debbie Reynolds in this film. Wow, she is just so good in the film. And of course, we have that emotional arc that she has. It's got so much in this film. It's a culmination of so many different themes, things you can relate to, you can be moved by and uplifted by, and it's just one of the wonderful works of cinema. Of course, we have this arc where she, is this aspiring, struggling, kind of actress, and yeah, she kind of lies at first, to protagonist of Don, but yeah, you find out, she wants to be an actress, and yeah, she's kind of used throughout the film, as the singing voice and stuff of Lena, played by Hagen, and yeah, she's kind of the villain of the film. She plays Lena, and yeah, basically she's a very main character in the film, but it's not. It's done in such a funny way that she is kind of the villain, if you will, but it's such a hilarious film. This one of the funniest films ever made, and it's just such a genius piece of satire, commentary, of course, and just exploration of this big event that took place, and everything involving filmmaking. As I say, a film about filmmaking. I love films like this. Boogie Nights as well, which I might review this over this next few weeks. Hopefully review that, watch that again. But yeah, I love films potentially about filmmaking, and this is one of the great things about this. And it's a musical, but it's also this. It's got so much emotion, but yes, you have this this wonderful portrayal of this, and as I say, I'd watched this a few times as a kid, but you really start to see the genius, not just the enjoyability, but the actual genius, and how clever this film is in the way what it's saying about this transition, and all the different just genius ways it portrays this transition, in such a way for comedy, but also just insightful way. I love this film so much. It has everything, and a very short film. It's only 100 minutes, and I just want to watch this film again. But it means so many different things to me, and it really is one of these ultimate films. It's a classic Hollywood feel, that just I unfortunately probably never really see again. What a shame, but I cherish just classic Hollywood films, and this is one of the ultimate representations of that. Like Gone with the Wind, and so many different films like this. It really is one of the true ultimate definitions of Hollywood, and it's not a one-sided film at all. It really is such a sincere and balanced film about this transition, and just filmmaking and struggling artists, and the show business side, of course, the media and kind of publicity. It's done in ways for comedy, but also just so powerful. This is just right. It's just perfect for me, this film, and beyond. So yes, Don Lockwood. And the first 10 minutes is just this wonderful, prologue. It's recapping his him and Cosmo. They're kind of they're from a young age, how they were together in the business. But he's saying how it's kind of it's such a genius kind of satire here, where it's kind of he's describing it to everyone in a way where it's made out to be a perfect kind of the way he entered the business and stuff, and of course what we're seeing in the flashbacks, if you will, is completely different. The irony there, I love this, and how it's not always kind of the perfect ride, of course, and underneath the glamour and stuff, it can be a struggle, in reality, but it does it in such a wonderful way, and just a wonderful the sense you get straight away. You get the defining of the character Lena as well, just before that 10-minute mark, where she, it kind of shows how she does not care about anyone else, kind of thing, her selfishness, and how she only kind of paid attention to him and stuff, and tried to follow him when he was recognised, and he wanted, he was made to be, the aims to make him a big star, so that she can kind of play off of this. It's a big thing in the film, that throughout the film, she uses everyone, and a perfect example of that is what happens with Debbie Reynolds' character, of Kathy, and how she is used, for the singing voice, and everything, of Lena throughout the film. Spoilers, of course, review, but yeah, of course, until the end, which is just one of the most satisfying, and just purely, wonderful final acts in a film. How satisfying is that? When it finally comes together there, and you finally you know, she's recognised, and Lena is, you know, the true colours are shown to everyone, the public. Just a wonderful final act with one of the best final sequences. You know, the shot there. You know, what a shot. You know how it ends there, absolutely perfect. And yeah, you know, it's a famous film. This some people, of course, have just kind of seen the Singing in the Rain sequence. And the thing to note with this, one of the remarkable things actually, is most of these songs are not original. You know, they were in many, many different films. The title song, of course, you know, being in, a film, 1929. So yeah, you know, it's most of the songs aren't, you know, actually original. Some examples of original songs though, Moses Supposes and Make 'Em Laugh, just absolutely brilliant. You know how joyous is this film, the energy. You know, let's just talk about the energy to the picture. The cinematography being one thing. You know, the way that the camera wonderfully flows, gliding through. You know, it's such a wowing experience. You know, just a beautiful rush, and you know, wow, how it's just elegant, you know, and graceful it is. The way the camera moves in and out, you know, and just the tracking shots, the choreography, of course. Gene Kelly and Stanley, wow, this is some of the best choreography I've ever seen. Broadway melody, you know, kind of being the 10-minute sequence, you know, towards the end of the film, which is just literally showcasing this, but it's done in such a way, and it doesn't. It's all part of this film and this experience, you know, and it's just pure cinema. This is so wonderful in its cinematography. The editing is some of the very best. You know, I think this is a film you can really look at, and well, in my opinion, of course, everyone have different opinions, but and people have their films that kind of, what would they say is just one, you know, the most perfect, the films that are perfect, they kind of most aspire to, you know, they look to for you know, just how to make a film right, perfectly and stuff. And this is one of the ones, one of the highest, you know, the ones that I think is just something I look to. And just every single element of the film, the production, the editing, of course, being just stunning in the film, the costumes, everything, the choreography, and just how you can make a film so energetic. You know, it's off the charts. You know, this is almost to a point where it's unbelievable how upbeat and energetic it is, and it establishes a kind of perfect tone straight away. While it's, you know, it's a serious you know, themes it explores in the film, and truly emotional, powerful, and quite tragic elements at times, but the level of energy and pure joy at times in the film is just off the charts, but so controlled wonderfully by the main cast, of course. Gene Kelly, just so perfect in this film. He gives one of the best performances of all time, as does, you know, Debbie Reynolds, and of course Donald O'Connor. These three in particular, absolutely perfect. Not a single moment where they aren't just the characters. They are, you know, they become the characters. They become the kind of the personas. They are absolutely perfect in the film. The levels, the emotions, the energies that they give off, never too much. It's also fantastical. This film, it's such an escapist and an infernal out of body experience. Like a lot of my favourite films, it's just a perfect film in my opinion. And I love the energy. It just it takes over, you know, and it just whatever the case, really, at least in my experience, I can be absolutely uplifted after this film. Literally taken, you know, somewhere spiritually. This film, what this does, and just constantly grinning at the screen, and just in awe of the filmmaking, just the story, of course, being so, you know, investing straight away, you know, these techniques to tell a story. It's got everything, you know. It's with all respect, far better than a film like Citizen Kane. You know, I think this is one of the very finest films that just, you know, in terms of the story telling and the acting and the level of energy, the way it just it is cinema. You know, I think this is one of the very best. And beyond so many different films, that people would mention in this regard. I think this is one of the very, very finest, and rightfully so. I feel is mentioned alongside these sort of films. It's every bit as good, and I think better than so many films. And it's just, yeah, it's one of my top 5 films of the 50s as well, for the record. Which is one of my very, very favourite decades in cinema. I just think it just so many films, masterpieces. This is one of the very, very best films ever made, and I just love the characters, this whole kind of emotional story. I love the romance, of course, no introduction needed. The chemistry is perfect, just absolutely stunning characters, the way they're written in themselves, so layered, the emotion too, and the arc of course, of Kathy, one of the great, great characters in cinema. I love how at first their relationship is kind of, the argument that happens at first, but then slowly, of course, they fall in love, and it's just one of my favourite romances. Purely uplifting, but not kind of forced or cheap or compromised at all. It's so perfectly built up, and then it does. It's one of the most satisfying as well, of course. It certainly ends in a way that it will please everyone, I'm sure. This film, it just does everything right, and all these side characters, I just love as well. Lena being a person, a character who provides some of the very, very, very funniest scenes in cinema. The dialogue to this film is exceptional, but yes, just how the moments, and it tying into how it portrays the kind of problems that they faced, filmmakers and stuff, the studios, with the transition to sound, the brilliant scenes, of course, when she, the director and stuff, is saying, you have to speak into the mic, and they have to put it in the bushes and stuff, and then take it to different places. All these sequences are so hilarious. I've rarely laughed as much as this, and she just pulls this performance off so perfectly. Really absolutely perfect in this film. Every performance, but yes, Lena is such a great character. Jean Hagen, just absolutely flawless in the role. She got nominated for an Oscar as well. I think all of these performances are exceptional in the film. Every single character, even the side characters, are so memorable, and all kind of play a role in this film, and the dynamics, and how it's just central to portraying this whole theme of this transition, this big event, and it is one of the biggest events in cinema. It's ambitious. It portrays on paper, of course, some of the things that I guess most people are interested in, and kind of sum up a big part of cinema. And the execution does not disappoint. It really just exceeds what it kind of sets out to do. But yeah, it's a film that is just so purely as well, on so many levels, just joyous. Just to watch this, experience this, to feel the songs, the dancing, to see these wonderful colours on the screen. Blu-ray is the way, of course, and this just looks absolutely stunning. I was in awe of this once again, with the colours, the Broadway scenes, of course, being just an absolute visual pop to the eyes. Wow, absolutely stunning, delicious visuals here. Absolutely stunning, the way this film looks, the score as well. Wow. The score to this is absolutely stunning. And of course you've got the songs, the way they're used and incorporated into the film. They basically, so many of these songs people associate with this film, and that's genius. They're mostly being existing songs, but they all kind of have new meaning. And Singin in the Rain, of course, being the one that, when that scene comes on, and actually, within the context of the film, of course, being just so much more powerful and meaningful, and just right, of course, ticking the box there of when to use the song, and stuff. It just, that scene, and just before that, you've got, of course, Good Morning, being another one of the most joyous and wonderful scenes. One of my favourite scenes in cinema, and then you've got that wonderful, exchange between Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly, and then you've got the sequence, one of the most iconic in cinema, and that is just one of my very, very favourite scenes. You know, you can watch it on its own, but within the context of the film, you know, over an hour into the film, you know, this scene, and yes, you've got, it's just so purely, you know, this is a film, this is cinema, it's magic. This is, you know, when Gene Kelly, you know, just, you know, singing in the rain. Wow, 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 wow. You know, so simple in so many ways, and that's the great thing. Just the out of body experience, the way it just, you know, allows me to escape and uplift me and just wow me, and yeah, just so enjoyable. This film. It's one of the most purely entertaining films of all time. Just constant perfection in my eyes, and just not a single scene that isn't just so immersive, so enjoyable, and so, you know, well written, acted, directed to perfection. This is one of the very, very, very best directed films in my opinion, and just not a single false note. You know, this is one of the most sincere films. You know, just a film with a true heart and you know, passion for film. You know, for cinema, everyone involved, and just how it can, it really is so joyous and magical. What a magical film this is, and just you know, it'd be interesting to see everyone's comments on this. But I just find it to be, you know, absolutely without question one of the most enjoyable films ever made. Really, and so inspirational. What it kind of says, and the emotional undercurrent to the film, which you know, I kind of, I feel every, you know, every time I watch this even more. It's such a powerful film, but of course it doesn't end in a tragic way. It ends in one of the most pleasing final acts in a film, and the recognition of an artist, you know, and just so many other different things, and you know, this romance finally fully coming together, you know, with Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and you know, every single storyline, well, every single thread is wrapped up. This whole narrative and this these themes of, you know, just, and this transition from silent cinema to sound has, you know, really this is just absolutely flawless in its execution of this, and how, you know, it's such a hilarious film in what it says here, you know, and how, you know, of course it was a, you know, an initial at least kind of problematic time, you know, and how, you know, a lot of the for me the purity and everything was lost, you know, from silent cinema, which I have a real obsession with silent cinema. But yes, it does this, not in a one-sided way though. It does this so well, and the comedy of just everyone kind of rushing in to kind of you know, jump into this, and without, you know, sometimes without actually knowing you know, how it would be kind of difficult, you know, at first and stuff. But yeah, it just does it for comedy, but it's also so powerful and inspirational, and just, you know, motivational. You know, it's such an inspiring film, and just wonderful characters, strong characters here. You know, with real motivations and you know, struggles in the film, especially, you know, Kathy Selden, played so perfectly by Debbie Reynolds. One of the most, you know, just purely wonderful performances, you know, whatever that means, in my opinion. Just how lovely the performance is, you know, the character, and how much I've rooted for these characters, and you've got this struggle, you know, to transition and to try and you know, kind of not be you know, kind of broken from this you know, this big event, this change, how they were dealing with this, you know, these characters, and just it represents so many things, and yeah, just how pleasing it is at the same time, you know. And I just think it's such a blend of so much, you know, here perfectly. You've got romance, you've got kind of a commentary here, you know, such a big event, of course, and just filmmaking in general. I love films that show filmmaking. I really do, and they're done well, and this is perfectly done. And you know, it's got comedy, it's got you know, it's got so much great characters in the film, and you know, it's just shot, edited, you know, to perfection. The score, the use of songs has such a flow, such an energy, and such a sophistication, you know, a graceful feeling, as well as a pure, just non-stop at times energy to the film. It's addictive. The energy levels to the film through the performances, through the editing, the colors. Everything. The whole production is just splendid. This is visual splendor. This is one of the most magical films, in my opinion. Easily one of the top 5 films of the 50s. Top 3 actually for me. Go even further. I think this is one of the absolute easily top 50 films I've ever seen. I absolutely love this film, and it's just a film that I'm so invested, in, and the romance I root for so much. I am moved to tears, throughout this film. I am just in awe of it, I am just, just wowed by the storytelling, how easily, they kind of make it feel, how this unfolds, this story, this narrative, and it's just told with such ease and confidence, and, just a kind of such an energy, but, it's not a film that, it has so much themes it's exploring, and so much, genius kind of moments in the script, for example, of course, and it's just what this film is saying and how it's doing it. It's just absolutely stunning, and in a pure kind of visual terms, in terms of the soundtrack, and just how kind of uplifting this is. It's just very rarely being bettered. I think it's an absolute stunning piece of cinema. This is one of the true magnum opuses, in my opinion. I really do think that. And not much more to say, it's not a film that I will talk about for an hour, because I think it's just, once again, taken a hold of me, and I think, once you watch the film, you'll probably maybe understand, everything I'm saying, and I don't need to say much more. It's a pure, joyous film that is, of course, highly emotional for me, and one of the most entertaining films, one of the most genius films. It's a true genius piece of cinema. This, I cannot believe the physicality to this. The scenes, of course. Where Cosmo is just that make him laugh sequence. One of the most just off the wall, energetic scenes of all time. Good Morning, being another sequence. Wow, what a sequence. I love this film so much. It's such a beautiful, uplifting, wonderful, joyous film that just, really is, kind of infectious, the level of energies to the film, and of course, Singin in the Rain, that sequence, it is cinema. It really is, this film. The entire film, not just certain moments, the whole film, Gene Kelly, what a legend. Something to behold. It makes you want to do, the things, you reenact it. But it's so hard, of course, to put off the level of skill in the dancing, and just the whole way this is choreographed. And of course, Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly, himself being the choreographers to this. Wow, what an inspiration, and just a perfect film in every sense. I love this. It's never not a perfect experience for me. It ticks all the boxes and more, and of course, it absolutely gets my highest rating that I give to films. Another case of a film that gets 100% plus, tier S. Another magnum opus, of course. And no surprises, this over these few weeks, a lot of these films will be getting this, or tier 1 and stuff. But this is one of these films that is just one of my absolute favourite films of all time. It really is just cinema for me, and yes, just I want to watch this film again. I really do. If you've not seen this film, what a recommendation this is. It's one of the most magical, uplifting, and for me, emotional films ever made. It really is an inspirational film, and and how this, in particular, of course, this artist, this aspiring actress, this wonderful individual, and of course the kind of the way, of course, she is exploited and used, of course, particularly this character of Lena, played by Jean Hagen, who kind of uses her in the film, and the satisfying nature of the end, where she she is fully appreciated, and the realization, that moment is one of the best moments in cinema, and such a powerful moment. What this means, and of course, the final scene being one of the just the most satisfying, one of the most satisfying moments in cinema, perfectly tying up this film, this experience, drawing to a close. Quite a short film of 100 minutes, but encapsulates so much here. Just the magic of cinema, the one of the big events in cinema. This change, of course, this transition, does it in a powerful way, but of course, so much in terms of just how this is a comedy, and no doubt, it's a musical and stuff, but it is one of the funniest films ever made. It's just so much in this, that it balances out romance, drama, comedy, and real kind of dissecting and delving into this whole kind of aspect of filmmaking and this event, and in general, filmmakers and those involved in cinema. I love how it kind of portrays how the publicity of it all, and of stars, particularly Hollywood stars, in this time, and it just does it in such a way that's so hilarious, and something that you can relate to, and appreciate so much, and just I think it's done in such a perfect way. This whole kind of this way, the satire elements at the beginning, especially when they're coming out of the cars, and the whole kind of the interviewing them, and all the fans rushing in. It's so perfect in the way it portrays the kind of lifestyle and everything of different stars and stuff. Just genius film, and then the whole kind of the actual the true filmmaking side of this, and seeing this afterwards, the actual products, and the audience reactions. It's just so hilarious, so genius, so enjoyable, and just perfect in my opinion. So yes, Singin' in the Rain, one of my three favourite films of the 1950s, which says a lot, because this is one of my very favourite decades for cinema, and this is one of the very high points, just the cinema really, in general. It's absolutely stunning, this film, a true magnum opus in my eyes, and if I ever feel like I want to be uplifted, and truly just feel joy, I will put this film on, and it inspires me, as well as just taking me to another place. The escapist nature of the film, the whole kind of the performances of the film, as I say, Debbie Reynolds being so perfect, Donald O'Connor, and everyone, Gene Kelly, of course, absolutely legendary. The skill in this film, the timing, of course, it's a marvel to behold. But it's such a personal film as well, real passion put into this, and what it's saying, and how it's exploring different themes, and how big the scope is. It's a very ambitious film, but it's so perfectly executed, and it seems like with ease, and that takes real genius, and mastery of of cinema to do this. Hats off to everyone, and of course, a film for me, and everyone who loves the film to cherish, and watch over and over, and I just can't wait to watch it again. It's such a film, I can't wait to rewatch, over and over, just to experience this this whole kind of this romance, this exploration of cinema, not just specifically, but just in general, filmmaking, and stuff, and the lifestyle of this, and just so perfect, so perfect. Cinematic perfection, and one of the most mind-blowing films of all time. I'm in awe of the choreography, the production in general, the cinematography, everything in this film, absolutely stunning. And I just love the characters, of course, as I've said, the friendship, between Cosmo and Don, and how it's, of course, you feel it's lasted so long, throughout these years, and how their whole kind of journey together, and this romance, Debbie Reynolds, Gene Kelly, Don Lockwood, of course, being one of my favourite characters in a film, and everything's just so charming and magical. It almost feels like a dream, this film, but it's really saying something so powerful as well. It's a perfect blend of fantasy and reality. It really, really is a fantastical experience. It's like a dream film for me, personally, and yeah, just I just love this. Millard Mitchell as well. Wow, I didn't really mention him, but he's such a great character as well, and how he kind of oversees, this and how, yeah, basically, the kind of the ways that they all come together at the end as well, and kind of they share a kind of a purpose at the end, and how it all just comes together so wonderfully, and it's true magic for me, true cinema. This and yes, just yes, Singing in the Rain, a true magnum opus. This is cinema. What can I say? Absolutely love this film. One of my very, very, very favourite films. Will be appearing extremely high on my list of favourite films, and once again, a privilege and a pure joy to watch. Once again, and yeah, can't wait to watch it again. Of course, tell me your thoughts in the comments, and I look forward to talking to you all about this film and your experience with the film, and how maybe just talk about comparisons to other musicals, and your favorite musicals and stuff. And yes, just discussions on cinema, as always, and that's what we're here for, cinema. And this truly is one of the definitions, I feel personally, for that, for what is cinema. Well, this is one of the definitions of what cinema is, in my opinion, and what a glorious, glorious film. And more reviews coming, of course, and I cannot wait to talk about more films, mostly being over the next few weeks, that are on my favourites lists, of all time. So yes, as always, thanks for watching my review.